and welcome to Grants, to apply or not to apply. In this short module, we will review a few key points to consider when determining if applying for a grant is the right decision for your department or team. When a request for application is released, we often default to focusing on the amount of funding that is available. However, the funding amount is one of several factors to consider when determining whether or not the grant is a right fit. Let's review some items to help you make an informed decision. Number 1, does this grant align with SDCOE's mission and board goals? Ask yourself, how will this grant help our department meet the current needs of our programs and the districts we serve? Number 2, how complex is the application? Consider if the application requires specific partnerships, memorandums of understanding, public stakeholder meetings, or other elements that require time to draft, design, and execute. Also consider the deadline. Will you be able to meet both SDCOE's internal deadline for approval as well as the funder's submission deadline? If the timeline is too short, you may not be able to move forward. Number 3, who will be leading the grant development process? Does the staff have the time and/or experience needed for this proposal? For example, if a manager is exploring a highly competitive federal grant but has never written or been a part of the grant development process, they would require the help of other team members. Consider this in determining who is the best fit for leading the work. Number 4, is your team or department well positioned for this proposal? It's important to explore whether or not your department is the best and only fit for this application. It is not uncommon for multiple departments to identify the same funding opportunity. As opposed to looking at this as a conflict, we ask that you explore possibilities to leverage one another's strengths, expertise, and partnerships. The goal and focus of our work is to craft the strongest and most competitive proposal possible. Number 5, is the workload feasible? Consider and assess the current workload and bandwidth of your team. Are there competing projects that would prevent staff from successfully implementing this project should funding be awarded? Have a conversation with your department's leadership to ensure this grant project aligns with future initiatives. And lastly, number 6, does this funding level match the need and effort required? Determine if the scope of the project is feasible for the amount of funding that is available. For example, if you are exploring a $5,000 grant that requires monthly reporting and ongoing data collection, the effort may be too great for the low level of funding. Something else to think about is the type of permissible expenses. Will the funder allow certain line items that you need for your project? If the funding is extremely limited in its scope, it may not be the right fit. We know that reviewing grants and determining whether or not to apply can be multifaceted. The good news is that you now have a strategy for weighing all the factors to feel confident with your decision. Should you need additional support, please do not hesitate to reach out. We know you are doing great work. You are just one grant away from making it amazing.